the brakes might be starting to go a little bit, but one more lap then. Hello guys and welcome to this Volkswizard video, and in today's video I'm going to fulfill an ambition I've wanted to fulfill for a very long time, and that's to drive a modern Golf GTI on a track day. And that car is of course the Golf GTI TCR you've seen on this channel already, although it does look a little bit different to how you're used to seeing it, which we'll come to in a bit. Now, what's special about the Golf GTI TCR is that it's, for me, the first Golf GTI that does the practical stuff you expect of a Golf, with cruise control and parking sensors and rear seats, but it also should be very entertaining on a track with 290 horsepower and that very clever VAQ front differential. Now, my benchmark for track enjoyment in the Golf was my modified Golf GTI Edition 30, which I took on track last at Bedford Autodrome in the summer of 2018, and that car was incredible. I put that down largely to a number of modifications, but primarily to because it was running on the Pirelli Trofeo R tyres that you see on this car. In fact, the wheels and tyres are exactly the same ones that are on that car then. Anyway, before we get to Bedford, I'm going to give you a little tour of the car and just show you what small amount of preparation I've done to it to make it ready for the track. Okay, well, I bought the Golf GTI TCR because I felt there wasn't an awful lot to do to it to get it ready for the track, especially if it came with the performance pack, which this car did, but the original tyres have been sold. The Cup 2s have gone and the guy put some more usable tyres on it, but I have got some track day tyres of my own, and you may recognise these from the Edition 30, which was around a couple of years ago. They've only done one outing at Bedford and they really transformed the car. The funny coincidence is that these wheels and tyres are pretty much exactly the same size as the Oz wheels and Goodyears that I bought the car on. So we've got 235 40/18 tyres, got an 8-inch wheel, and we've got ET44 on these. The Oz ones are ET45, so they're 1 mil further into the arches, but the Oz wheels fill the arches pretty well, so these are just 1 mil further out, probably barely discernible, to be honest. The tyre probably makes more of a difference. Now, the Trofeo R is, I would say, a little bit more hardcore than the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2, so there aren't many cars that leave the factory with them fitted because you wouldn't really want to use them on the road that much, but for a track day I think they are one of the best tyres you can get, and they're really quiet as well. I had Toyo Proxys R888 or R888Rs on my TT Quattro Sport, and I looked back at videos of that at Castle Combe and I couldn't hear the engine for the droning from the tyres. It was bizarre. So we've got some pretty hardcore tyres. They are 2 years old, but it's going to be quite warm tomorrow, so I think they're going to be markedly better than anything else I could have put on it. Now, you may know the GTI Clubsport S, a very famous Nürburgring record car, came with nothing in the boot. You got no back seats, you got a bit of net like this there and a pole that I'm pretty sure didn't do anything for the structure of the car because the car's laser welded, and from what I could see it was only very loosely attached to the body. Well, to mimic that, I've taken out what's easy to take out, so boot floor, spare wheel, toolkit, and you know, there should be a marked difference in the weight of the car, because especially with the spare wheel, because this is really heavy. I can barely lift this with one hand, but I guess it's got to take the weight of the car, so it's going to be quite a thick bit of metal. These are the other bits, easy enough to put back in. Also taken the parcel shelf out and the book pack, because we don't really need that, do we? No. So yeah, pleased with that. I'm going to put some tyre foam in because I'm not that optimistic a person. And where the book pack used to reside, we now have a fire extinguisher in case the worst comes to the worst. Another little thing courtesy of the first owner of this car is that the front end has been PPF'd, so there's a paint protection film on there that's been done really nicely. I don't think it's on the wings, but it's definitely front bumper and bonnets, which are the most likely things to get damaged on a track day. I've also fitted now the towing eye in case I need to be towed out of something. Also, the cap really isn't designed to be driven with it out because it will just flap around and damage your bumper. So I've managed to pull that out, and I'm going to leave that here safely. But you really don't want that on its little cord flapping around at 150 miles an hour, even like 70 miles an hour on the road. And that, I think, is it. I've done a bit of preparation for the cameras, because you have to be careful with track days because they can be a bit funny about your cameras. So I'm using a plastic mount at the front, and I've got this frame mount here, which hopefully they'll think is quite safe because it's behind the driver there, and we can have a nice sort of bird's eye view, not worry about showing 100 and something miles an hour on the speedometer. I guess I better give it a clean because it's still full of grass from Alton Park from a couple of weeks ago. So that's it, guys. Really excited now. I'm just going to go home now, try and get some sleep, get up nice and early, and I'll see you at Bedford Autodrome in the morning. Good morning, guys. You find me somewhere near Earthling Borough in Northamptonshire at about, it's 8 o'clock now on a very sunny and warm Saturday morning. Probably going to be one of the warmest days of the year today, which isn't frankly ideal for doing a track day. But if I said I was doing a track day, I was lying. It's actually an event called How Fast, and you get an hour's worth of practice, and then you and just 3 other cars are on the track at the same time, well spaced out, trying to set your best lap time. So you have an out lap, a hot lap, and a cooling down lap. And that is all, frankly, I want to do today in this car that I've only just bought. I think committing to a whole day in a car you've never driven in anger before is probably a bit much. And the kind of the way it's worked out with the weather as well, I don't think it would survive half a track day, let alone a whole day. So these How Fast days are brilliant if you're even a novice, because you don't have to set a time. You can just have Bedford Autodrome to yourself pretty much for 3 laps, which sounds awesome. Now, I love coming to Bedford because not only is it a very fast, challenging circuit, it's also got loads of runoff. So if the car's new to you and you don't know what it's going to do, just take it a bit easy, get a feel for it. But if you know your car really well and you want to push its limits, it's the safest probably circuit in the UK to do that on. I also like it because it's part of the MSV group of venues. You've probably seen their distinctive sign around. Most of the British touring car venues are MSV, and they're always really well run. So not only are they very well organised, the toilets are clean, the food's well priced and good, they're also very well marshalled, which is very important because sometimes other drivers need to be educated as to what to do on a track day, frankly. They also take social distancing very, very seriously. So something that's come out of COVID, which is probably going to stick around anyway, even if COVID buggers off, which I hope it does soon, is that I've checked in online now, a bit like a flight. So when I get there, I still have to show my licence and get my wristband, but I don't have to do the formal process with the next of kin and all that. Also, I've already done the briefing online, so there's that. You normally sit in a room with everybody and the instructor makes some usually bad jokes about stuff, and yeah, they tell you what to do and what not to do. Well, I've done that online in my own time, so that's cool as well. So I feel a bit more relaxed today about the day because there's not an awful lot to do when I get there apart from drive, but I just thought I'd get this done now because when I get there, there's going to be so much to see anyway, and you don't want me telling you the nitty-gritty of the event. So we're only about, let's see, about 10 minutes away now, so I'll see you at the venue. We'll go and have a look at, hopefully, some nice cars in the car park. Okay guys, welcome to the paddock at Bedford Autodrome. Thankfully there's a little breeze blowing, so it's not as stiflingly hot as I'd feared. Anyway, I've got a few minutes before the briefing to give you a quick walk around the cars. As ever, there's a diverse mix. We've got my TCR there, a number of BMWs, as is always the case here, MX-5s as well, Caterhams, a Rover, which is somewhat different to what you'd expect, and a 911 Carrera 4S car I used to own. Got a pretty nice looking Cayman, but I think it's only a 2.9, not an S or an R. And then over there, there's MG. It's nice to see some classics here, a bit of variety. and then a nice, very late plate Lotus. It's really weird seeing a Leaf on a 69 range, bearing in mind they came out in 1996 or 5. Classic Alpha, again, nice to see those here. And check this out, living the dream. KN Turbo, very expensive trailer, and the ultimate track day car, which has probably just come off there. So yeah, look at that, a radical by name, radical by nature. And this car looks like it's been all over Europe doing track days, Spa, Dijon, Donington. It's even been to Portimao, a place like, and Ascari. Yeah, living the dream. Okay, well, it's a bit of a dream for me being here in the TCR, so I'm just going to go and do the briefing, and I'll see you guys when we're just about to go on track. Okay, well, welcome to the pits at the incredible Bedford Autodrome. So just a few things I want to do to the TCR before I go on track, and that's basically to do what I can almost electronically to turn it into the track car from the daily driver car that it was on the way here in eco mode. So I'm going to put it into sport mode, which for once isn't pretentious. I'm going to have the lap timer on the virtual cockpit. I've also got the virtual cockpit showing me the gear selector and the speed. That's all I really want to see in detail. And I've also put the performance monitor on the infotainment screen. That gives us boost pressure, G-force, which will be very interesting, and the amount of power being used. I think that's it. I've also had a fiddle with the tyre pressures, because tyre pressures are, yeah, they're a bit of witchcraft when it comes to track use. So you really can't go out there on the pressures that you want to run on, because it's going to get hot now. So you really need to be at the road pressures once you've done a couple of hot laps. So you need to come in, lower them. Actually, you need to go out, get them warm, and then reset them back to what you want, which is roughly around the road pressures. So that's what I'm going to do now. So yeah, it's very exciting. Not many people here. It seems a bit more laid back than a normal track day. We've got this hour practice session before we do our timed laps, and there's a Cayman GT4 here, so I don't need to race it because we're going to have times to compare how the cars perform. I think it's going to be a bit quicker than this car. Anyway, enough talking. Let's go and do some driving on track in the Golf GTI TCR. So let's go for a hot lap, hopefully with no traffic. So let's change just a pit exit here. Okay, onto the brakes, third gear. Take it nice and wide, pretty late apex, gently on the gas, feed it back in, let the diff hook up, and off we go. The lightweight cars around here are incredible. The Clubsport S probably would be discernibly tidy around there. Onto the brakes again, another left, right bit. Okay, late apex. Now let's try and get this one right. So very late. Turning on the brakes a bit to get the back moving around, and then you always end up pointing towards the bank. Into fourth, coming up to fifth, but we're not going to make fifth. Onto the brakes for this technical bit. I think the brakes might be starting to go a little bit, but one more lap then. And then this is the second last exit, so not loads of room, so you might as well use the pit entry so there's no one there. And then last corner into third. Okay guys, here we are in the pit lane at Bedford then. I've done my practice laps and I'm about to go on for my timed laps. So we've got 4 laps, 1 out lap, 2 timed laps and 1 cooling down lap, and then we'll see what time I can do in the TCR. I've not, to be honest, got on with it that well on the practice laps. It just felt like a really heavy, cumbersome car, but it could just be me learning it. It's held up pretty well though. The brakes got very hot, but they still worked, and the tyres don't look particularly wrecked, just nicely grained, so they're quite happy here. No other problems, no overheating of engine or gearbox. It's all looking pretty good, and I always feel a car will drive better after it's had this kind of heat going in. So all the brakes now are used to the heat, all the pads are used to the heat, and the TCR having specific pads to help them work on track seems to be about right, because there's been no smoke coming off them at all, even though they've got really hot. Anyway, I better get psyched up, get to the toilet and join the queue to do my timed laps.
Oh, yeah, whenever you're ready, my friend, good
Ready?
to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay guys, so here we are on the fast lap sessions now. So we've got this out lap, and it's a good time just to remind yourself of the corners and how sometimes it's better to take them slower. Get Radio 4 off the infotainment. Right. So just going around gently now, really, just to get a bit of heat into the tyres and just try and remember what's what, because it's not a difficult circuit, but to do it fast, it's difficult. You know, like if you're going too fast here, you end up sort of understeering, so you need to turn in late, but then as soon, you don't even straighten up, you straight round, but smoothly, run a bit of curb if you want both ways. And then this is the late apex. I hate this corner. So third gear, I'm never late enough, that's nice and late now, so you can get on the gas pretty much at the apex there and then not run wide, which when you've got the full straight here makes a massive difference. But straight away we're down now onto this chicane, which is pretty hard to see because it's so flat, but it's always tighter than you think. Amazing that I haven't hit the cones there today. And then this is the pit entry corner, so second last corner, and the Caterhams just lift and turn here, they don't brake, which is incredible. Right then, Hotlap, I'm going to shut up now, spare you from my rambling. So got to get a good entry to the pit straight anyway, so let's go. Okay guys, well I've snuck into the cafe here at the pits at Bedford to have a lovely free coffee, my favourite, mocha. This is what makes coming to an MSV venue just so much sweeter than going to your typical track day. Now that over there is a piece of paper with all the times on it. They normally do it with transponders electronically, but that's all gone a bit wrong today. I've got my mask on because being indoors here you have to have a mask on, but if you're drinking you don't have to. So let's just nip over to this bit of paper and have a look at the times. So let's start at the top then. A silver BMW M4 did 124, Porsche GT4 did 125, 2 Series that was tuned 124, Black Caterham 153, I think they were learning the circuit, a grey 330D which had some pretty serious brakes on it, 129, a Caterham 128, 1 Series 126, nice and consistent. Me, again consistent, but consistently slow. I don't think that's too bad actually really. 130, Blue MG Rover, a pretty serious car considering it costs the guy peanuts, 132, Nissan GTR 124, and an MX-5 there 135, and then we have the crazy Radical that's all carbon 120, and looking pretty unsuited to a track like this, I'm not surprised because it is pretty technical, 140 for the S5. So I don't think that was too bad a first outing for the TCR. I really got to enjoy it on those time lapses. Like my mind was really focused on doing a good time rather than just sort of driving around without any sort of focus on the practice laps. So yeah, I'm looking forward to coming again. I'd love to do one of these how fast days again because really it's just enough, you know. I think it's only about 11 o'clock now. I've been here since at 8:15. The car's had quite a bit of use already and I've had a lot of fun and got some good memories. So yeah, have a look at MSV's website. I'll put a link in the description below and see if you fancy any of their days. They do full track days as well, of course, at venues all over the country. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volkswizard video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment, please share. Please subscribe. Surely we've got to get to 20,000 subs very, very soon. And I'll see you for the next one very soon. Cheers guys. Sorry guys, that actually wasn't the end of the video because while I was editing it, I came across some footage of the Edition 30 filmed using the same headrest camera mount, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to have that on screen at the same time as the TCR footage? The problem with that was that when I drove the Edition 30 at Bedford in 2018, we were on the Southwest circuit, which is a little bit longer than the West circuit that we were using on Saturday. But the good news is the first minute of each lap is identical. So here's a minute's worth of TCR versus Edition 30 at Bedford. Okay, so didn't the Edition 30 do well getting that close to the TCR? I should point out it was highly modified. So firstly, 304 horsepower with a map and exhaust. Then there was a braided suspension, R32 brakes, which are much bigger front and back. And it also had the Super Pro anti-lift kit, which gives it a bit more traction. Probably not as good as the VAQ diff, but it would have certainly helped. It also had the same tyres, in fact exactly the same tyres as on the TCR, but they were brand new. That was their first outing. They were fitted like a few days before that, so they were as good as they could have been, which I think might have affected the TCR time a bit. What do we conclude from that? I don't know, they're both brilliant cars. Anyway guys, thanks for watching and see you for the next one soon.